present in the same location. All voters will be taken by roll call during this meeting. I'll be starting the meeting by taking a roll call of attendance. When each member states their name, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during the meeting, and if so, just identify who they are. We'll start with our committee first. I know Dan's not here. Bryn?
Here.
And just if anyone's in the room with you.
Oh, no, my dog, Lucy.
Hello, Lucy. And Jen?
I'm here and no one is in the room.
Okay. Courtney is going to be coming on after, so we'll get to her. Mike Whistler, did you jump on by any chance?
Nope.
No, I don't see Mike. All right. Val?
I am here.
And are you alone or anybody with you?
Just two pups.
Okay. Steve's not going to make it tonight. I'm Stephanie Papakostadis, and I am also alone in this room. Our select board member, Miss Molly.
Hi, here. I'm by myself.
Hello. And Greg?
I am here by myself.
Melissa?
I'm here by myself.
All right. Dave Tovey.
Yes, here by myself.
And Miss Bartel. Hi, Joanna.
I'm here by myself.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. So we will call May 6th, 26, 2020's meeting of the Rec Advisory Board to order. Thank you guys for joining us. It's been a very active week within our department. And we've got a lot to discuss tonight. Because we do not have a quorum, I'm going to go ahead and table the minutes. I don't think we need a vote for that. Do we need a vote to table the minutes, Molly?
Yeah.
I can't hear. We need it. Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to vote to table the minutes, and I'll take a verbal roll call to table the minutes because we do not have a quorum tonight. And you can just say aye or yes if you approve on that. Bryn?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
All right. Val?
Yes.
I give a yes as well on that. So we will table the minutes to the next meeting. Someone just jumped on. Hey, Mike, how are you? He's getting on. Hi, Mike, how you doing?
Hey, everybody.
Just need you to let us know that you're on. You can say your name and just whether you're alone or if there's somebody with you.
Mike Whistler, and I am alone for the time being.
Okay, sounds good. We just talked about we do not have quorum tonight, so we are going to be tabling the minutes till the next meeting. So I just need your approval to do that as well. We took a verbal yes for everybody. Thumbs up. Yes. All right.
You actually, Steph, do now have a quorum. So if you have to vote on, there's 5 of you.
Okay. We don't have the minutes out though. Those didn't go out, right?
Nope.
So we'll still vote to table those.
Yep.
All right. So we will, do I need a motion to do that? This is all. I don't think I need a motion to table those, correct? Okay. All right. So we'll table those minutes until next meeting, guys, and we'll approve these minutes and the meeting minutes from the last meeting that we had. We do have a spot for public comment tonight. I don't see anybody on here from the public. I'm not sure if Dan or Natasha see anybody that would like to say anything. I'll give it just a moment in case anyone wants to jump in and has anything to say.
No, I think you're good.
We don't have any attendees, so you are all set.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you so much. So we're going to move on meeting onto summer updates. We have a lot going on. As you know, we got the email that the select board did make a decision last week to cancel summer camp, adventure camp for the summer. It was a difficult decision, but it was made with a great deal of research and the feedback that we had from our last meeting. That was carried in through Greg and Melissa to the select board meeting for them to make the difficult decision to cancel summer adventure camp this summer. I don't know if Greg and Melissa want to kind of give an overview of how that went and if Molly wants to jump in as well from the select board perspective.
Well, first, something the department wants to apologize is getting an email out late to you as an advisory board. Melissa, David, and I went into scramble mode to work on summer plans and totally spaced on sending it to you. And unfortunately, we had some difficulties with our recreation software, and we're working with IT to fix those because there was emails to send out, and Val is still waiting for them. And so if any of you have email receipts in the last few months or year that you've gotten, forward them to me, because we need to look into the header, the technical stuff. So, but apologies for us. We should have been more prompt. I should have been on the email chain to you Monday night. So that's where we stand.
You don't have to apologize to us, Greg. You guys have worked so hard to try and pull this off.
Well, thank you. But out of respect, you guys are the advisory board, and so we should have contacted you immediately.
A greater concern that I have actually is there are a number of people from camp who are parents for some reason did not receive an email. And there's actually, hi Courtney, there's actually 2 on here that I know from our board that didn't receive an email that camp was even being canceled. And there are a couple of other people that reached out to me tonight letting me know that they never received anything either. So I think somehow we need to get another one out. Maybe the glitch in there hit.
I actually sent another one out. Val, did you get an email I sent today? I verified your email and it was in there. So
I can say that I did receive an email canceling camp from David. Initially, I didn't think so because Ryan had received one from David for canceling counselors, and then I received one from Melissa. And so I was mistaken. I did receive one from David, and I did receive one today.
Okay. But Greg sent one as well, though, correct? And that one is the one I think that a lot of people didn't receive.
I didn't receive anything from Greg. I received an email from David saying summer camp families, we made the decision, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And I sent one today, this afternoon.
I got the one saying refund follow-up. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I did get that one.
Okay.
I got that one also.
Okay. But the initial one.
Yeah, that's through our recreation registration software. We're working on figuring out why it never got sent out. So
okay. Can we double check and get that out again and apologize for if it was duplicate to some people, but just to make sure that we didn't have some families that are still in limbo or hearing it through the rumor, because we don't want them to get it through the rumor mill. That wouldn't look good. Rack. That would be awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
That would be great. Molly, did you want to jump in from the select board last week, give any overview or anything on the
I think it was an incredibly hard decision on all of our behalf. We made it in conjunction with the rec staff and following guidance from the state. That doesn't mean that we're not going to offer anything, but I think what that new camp for essential workers looks like is still sort of up in the air. And it's impacting me. My kids are signed up and ready to go and devastated, and I'm still working full time from home. So I'm in all of the, I sympathize, I send my deepest regrets, but I think it was the right thing to do because we need to be safe.
Agreed.
I'll also chime in that Exeter is not alone.
No.
The surrounding communities of the Seacoast have made the same decision, the same tough decision. This is all new. So, I applaud the select board and the rec department for making the hard choice, because I think safety is the number one concern. So I'm glad that choice was made, but I agree with you, Stephanie, that we do have to make sure that it's communicated. And rather than people hearing about it on Seacoast Online.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely not. And we'll get those glitches figured out. We'll make sure that people get the notices out there. And I want to thank the select board as well for making that decision. It was a tough one and gut wrenching from this end. We all are so pro rec and wanted to see this go. But I think based on the notes that we took last meeting, we all knew in our guts it wasn't the right thing to do this year. And I think I want people to understand that the decision was not made haphazardly, that a lot of research, a lot of decisions were made and put into it, not having a pool, not having the the park open, not having the playground, all of those components, one bathroom, having to transport, nowhere to go for all of those things led to the smart decision that the select board made. And we're grateful that you made that right decision. And we're grateful we were only making the recommendation and not having to make the decision on our end, but we would have made the same. So thank you. We support 100%. Of what you made. Molly did bring up our next item agenda, which is the Care Kids program that was discussed, and want to open that up so that Greg and Melissa can give us and Dave can give us an overview as to what is being offered or potentially being offered based on when the state guidelines come out for the Care Kids program. So Greg and Melissa, if you want to go ahead.
I'm going to first introduce, we are still waiting for the state guidelines. We thought they would come out last week, but no. So we're still waiting. We are actually on a Zoom call this morning, and a lot of the Seacoast people are time's running out to actually come up with things. A lot of them are going to try to do something similar. Some of them are just bailing right away. They're like, it's not worth it. It's tough. And there's a lot of what ifs, and David and Melissa can go into the what ifs that there's still some uncertainty on even offering this because of the what ifs. So Melissa, if you want to take it from here and kind of explain what we've done so far, and then you and David, please chime in.
Sure. So what we wanted to do was, we knew that we couldn't do the big 300-person summer adventure camp, but we felt pretty strongly that we would be able to safely provide a much, much smaller program for about 50 kids that would allow us to socially distance and keep the kids in small groups. Sadly, it won't be the normal summer camp feel. And because of that, we wanted the name to be completely different for people to understand that it is childcare. It's not a licensed childcare, but it is a program in which people that need someplace for their kids to go could potentially go. We've worked this out with counselors. We've followed the ACA guidelines. We have looked at the CDC guidelines. We've looked at Maine. We've looked at Connecticut, a whole bunch of states that have provided information. We've been on national calls trying to kind of figure out what the requirements will be and how we can do that. So the process would look like the groups would be 10 kids with one counselor right now. Those kids in each group would have to stay with their group the entire day and the entire length of the program. We would not be able to intermingle with other groups. That is to prevent the spread. So if one group had a diagnosed case or had a diagnosed exposure, we would be able to shut down that small group and not the entire program. And those are the recommendations coming from CDC and the American Camping Association. And they're pretty much in line with what you're seeing some of the other states doing. We would be able to go inside during rain. We would be using the town hall or the recreation center, be splitting them up. I know that Greg has a meeting at the end of the week with the school department. There may potentially be some flexibility to get into the school, and he will fill us all in once he has that meeting. But we will have to buy extra equipment because each group has to have their own equipment and each group has to have their own art supplies. We won't have the pool open. The playground will be closed. The snack shack will be closed. It will be no aftercare. It would be from 8 to 4. We'd have staggered pickup and drop off times. You would have your guardian pull into the parking lot. The child will get out wearing a mask, have their temperature taken, answer any health screening questions. If they are able to do that and their temperature is okay, the parent will be released and they can leave and the child will go with their group. We have to do that for every staff person and every child. They will then at that point start their day and do what they need to do. Pickups would be staggered as well. Right now, our plan would be for staff and campers to be wearing masks during pickup and drop off and when they're indoors on rainy days, where the 6 foot distancing, although we'll have enough space for 6 foot distancing, it can get a little bit more tricky when you're inside due to ventilation and that kind of stuff. The plan as we stand would be when the kids are outside, the staff and the children will not have to wear masks because they will be 6 feet apart and in their separate groups of 10. All of this could change once the governor releases his guidelines, which we really hoped were going to be out at the very latest last week. So we're a little bit more in a pickle than we had hoped to be. We originally had proposed that we start on June 29th and run a 7-week program. But because the guidelines still are not out, I think we'd like to propose starting July 6th, which would be the Monday after the 4th of July, because we have to see what the requirements are. There's a possibility that if requirements come out and we can't provide the program, we may have to cancel. And so we're really stuck until he provides some guidance.
How much demand for this program is there?
When we surveyed all of the folks that were signed up for summer adventure camp, we had about 40 or 50 people that had said they were interested in care no matter what and no matter what form. And for the most part, the price range that we're proposing. So we're pretty sure that we would be able to get the people to register, but that's the other piece of this is we need the governor to release the guidelines so we can finish the program, and then we need to do registration for it. So we're getting a little bit down to the wire, like Greg said, where other departments are just saying, you get to a certain point and you can't kind of get it all squared away that quickly. So I don't think we're there quite yet, but we're getting close. And we also need to let parents know that if they are using this for childcare, whether it will be happening or not. David, do you have anything you'd like to say?
What point do you guys have date-wise before you have to make a decision?
Yeah, you did a great job covering, I think, everything we've been working on.
Oh. Sorry, I think David was delayed. Sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I think my internet is a little unstable right now. But I was just going to say that Melissa did a great job covering everything that we've been working on. I'm not sure. I think it was mentioned at the select board meeting, but this would be for grades entering 1st through 7th grade. So we've taken teen camp out. One of our bigger questions right now as well is our refund policy. So I think we wanted to talk with the advisory committee tonight about that. One of the challenges we have is if a group needs to quarantine for a week or two, we not only have to pay that staff member to stay home, but then the question of refunds too come into play. So that's unfortunately a question we don't have an answer for at this time, but we want to do something at least, whether that's a credit maybe for next year. It's a big question to be answered.
What's the date that we're looking at as our dead stop? Like we need to let people know. Like when do you think the decision will be made for everybody?
I think we need to roll it out next week. Yeah. To be honest with you. So hopefully the governor comes out that way when we come to select board again on Monday, June 1st, we have a finished product to say, this is what we want to offer.
Okay.
If we don't have those guidelines to go off of, it's going to be very difficult because I'm already getting emails from parents that want to sign up for it. But if they can't sign up for it now, they're going to have to find another alternative.
Right.
Have you talked to anybody at the state level about this?
We had
the governor's office or Morgan or anybody.
The person that Donna Keithy from Molten Borough Rec said it's basically in the governor's hands. So Molly, if you have connections up there, that would be outstanding because for us all in Parks and Rec, we're just waiting and not getting any responses.
I think we get John Morgan in the press conference today, I think the governor said there'd be some additional guidance on Friday. I think.
Friday at 3. Perfect. Yeah. Another weekend of working on finalizing stuff.
Well, it'll be worth it if we get it through. That's a really important decision for us to make as a town either way. People are desperate for care as to how they can get it. You can't make a yes or no in your thoughts. What's your gut feeling on something like this going forward?
I think it's doable. I do. We just are waiting for that curveball that the guidelines could provide. But everything that's based on childcare right now, for instance, the governor just updated childcare 2.0 orders, and they took away the provision of having kids wear masks all the time. And in a daycare setting, that's almost impossible. So if we get there, that's one of the things where I don't want to have to. I don't think it's viable if the kids have to wear the mask the whole day in the heat. And same with the staff, especially when it's 80, 90. And the CDC does recommend that. So the CDC last week threw one of those curveballs where suddenly they updated their recommendation and said, surprise, all the camp staff and kids need to wear masks all the time, going against what they had recommended to the ACA, the American Campers Association. So it was, it threw us for a loop like, oh, wow, all right, if that's going to be the case, then that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is there...
Oh, go ahead, Val. Sorry.
Well, I've just had a couple parents ask me, and I mean, our kids loved camp, and our family can certainly survive without it for the year. But I do have other families who are asking me, like, is it something where first priority goes to someone who doesn't have a parent at home, or is there going to be any kind of, I don't know, kind of stipulation or kind of hierarchy? I guess I don't really know what to call it, but
yeah, we're going to actually have a questionnaire that you'll fill out. That way, if we have more of a demand than the 50 spots, we can start whittling down and going with those that need it the most. I know I got a heartfelt email from a resident basically saying that if his wife can't go back to work as they were planning, the boss basically told her she's going to have to find a new job. So that's one of the things we're dealing with. But yeah, we're still working on the details of how we're going to ask those questions, because we don't want to feel people, but at the same time, we do need a minimum of 50, or the maximum of 50 and a minimum of 50. So 50 is our sweet spot to hit.
I think that's something that we may need to briefly discuss as a group on what and how we go about doing this, because I think that, Val brings up a great point, and that's something that really concerns me as well, is how do you can't cherry pick, but we do understand that we need to make it available for essential workers and people that are going back to work. And this just can't be I'm pulling out my hair, my kids are making me nuts, I need to get them out of the house type of situation. It really needs to be for people that are in need of this care this year, given the situation. But we need to figure out a way to make sure that this is fairly done, and that I know there were also a number of people that didn't receive the surveys or didn't find the surveys that came through for the camp. They didn't know about it. So if we send out a survey asking this question and somebody ends up with it in spam and they don't get the opportunity, how do we answer to that? And I think that that's something that could really come back to get us if we don't discuss it and put a plan together, a succinct plan together, and make sure that it's fairly done.
So
don't you think that this has to start with age? Because, I have a 12-year-old. I don't want him home alone, but he can be home alone.
Right. Well, they're only going
10-year-olds and below. They can't be home alone.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be the kind of starting point?
First, as Dave said, I think that's a great starting point, and they've already kind of hit that mark. It looks like when Dave said it's only 1st through 7th grade. So most of the 7th graders are at that point where they're under 12 or 12 and under at that point.
My 12-year-old's in 6th grade. I think we need to be talking about lower grades than that.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that's where you got to start, because if you want to start with what's essential is for kids that can't be home alone.
Right. Agree. Who just jumped in? Someone just jumped in?
Dave's having some technical difficulties.
Dave, I've got you twice here. It's a little freaky. What are your thoughts on that, guys? What are your thoughts on some ideas of how we make sure we fairly
I do like the thought of doing it up to fifth. Just thinking elementary school versus middle school, because middle school, I mean, let's face it, they're babysitting themselves. So I do think that that's fair in terms of beyond that. I don't know. I think saying, you have to have at least one parent who's not home, or it's just something. If there's two parents home, then clearly someone can watch the kids. Like I don't know.
I think that we do need to do something as far as prioritizing, but I also think that I think we're going to get into a sticky situation if we start comparing one situation to another. I mean, I almost feel like, I don't know, entertain the option that, for those parents that really, really need it, they should be on top of what's going on, and we can't worry about things that go to their spam folder that they don't read. If they need childcare and they know that rec is canceled and that rec is trying to put something out, that they also have a job to stay on top of what is being offered too. I would be very concerned about us getting into a situation of comparing one person's situation and prioritizing it over another.
Agreed, because we do have some parents that they may not be going to work per se, but they may have full-time jobs where they're locked on. Nico and I do, but fortunately our kids are old enough that they're okay. But if we had younger kids and we were both home working, there's no way we could have them.
Is it on our website? Is it on the rec website at this point?
I don't believe it is yet. Is it?
And the reason that I'm asking is because I never got the email. I found out from someone out of town, and I was checking just our website. I wasn't checking Facebook. So there could be parents out there who still have no idea. I don't think it's fair to say, they should be on top of it. I was literally checking all the time, and it wasn't in the places I was checking.
Right. And we do have a lot of people that are not on Facebook as well.
On top of it are also people who are working. So I think you wind up further disproportionately penalizing people who are busy doing other things and to have this on. But my question is, how would you handle it if somebody had more than one child, and because you have the 50 slots and like one child is above whatever the age is, or is one of the older kids who might be able to be home, but they also have a littler sibling?
That's a good question.
I don't think we can do the what if for every scenario. I really don't. If we're looking at 50 kids, I really think we just got to look at age. And Courtney, I agree. I mean, I wish we could make it all fair, but at some point you just got to say, if we're going to have 50 kids, I mean, what age cannot be home alone? To me, it's 11, 10 or under, whatever you want to say, can't be home alone.
I think that varies definitely on how the kids are raised and how they're like, because your kids and mine are similar in that, we were okay at 10, but there's some people whose kids may not be as mature as some other kids to stay home or in a situation.
Well, it does, but how are we going to, how do you decide that? I mean, you either got to make a steadfast rule of, I don't know, fifth grade or below, or don't do it. I think at some point you just got to say, you're not going to figure everything out. You're not going to have every scenario figured out.
Can I ask a question of the rec staff? If we had 65 kids sign up instead of 50, would you be able to modify your staffing and your supplies to be able to accommodate additional signups? Meaning, could we set an initial limit of 50? And if you get more, could you reevaluate and say, yeah, we could maybe find another place for 15 more kids? Is that even remotely possible?
It would really depend on staff, but as it is, we've had some staff members already bow out due to COVID-19. So we're starting to go down the line of who's able to work and who's responsible enough in this situation. So that I don't think I feel comfortable going. Right now we have a strong yes on the majority of the staff, but as we go down that rabbit hole, there's more issues that could come up to it.
Okay. Right.
Not only that, but we have to take it
to at what point do you cap it? You know, so like if you say, okay, well, we can take 65 and then 10 more, well, maybe we can take 10 more. And then at one point, does it become unsafe?
We also have to take into consideration indoor space. So if we have to provide rain days and we need to keep the kids 6 feet apart, we have no room for more than 50 kids. And that's already splitting them up at 2 locations. If we do have access to the school, maybe that changes a little bit. But also what we're seeing is, so for example, Maine and some of the other states, they're saying groups of 50. So the camp programs of no more than 50. I'm not saying that's what New Hampshire is going to do, but it's pretty consistent what we're seeing. So 50 for us is something we feel comfortable with, because we also have to have enough backup staff to provide if they're, like I said, an exposure or anything like that. So the more kids we have, the more backup staff we need to have as well. We'd love to provide. I personally would like to stick to the 50.
Gotcha. I just wanted to know if it was a hard 50 based on regulation, or, as we've all tried to accommodate in the rec world, like, oh, we could squeeze a few more in. I just want to know how hard that line was, so that when you're planning, you really are planning and having this conversation about prioritizing based on grade or age or need or whatnot is necessary, because it is a hard 50. I wanted to know how necessary it was to decide on having some regulations on who is accepted, because how hard that 50 was. So that helps. Thank you.
I had a question. Would you ask parent, or I guess the families, so if they're coming to the camp, but on the weekends, right? So would you be also asking them to not kind of isolate? But because I'm thinking about, if they come to camp during the week and you're keeping them distant and stuff, but then if they go out on the weekends and stuff and kind of travel around, so will you be asking families to commit to some sort of something away from the camp?
So not right now, we really can't. And that's sort of the conundrum with day camps, right? Mm-hmm. So we don't know what they do after camp. We don't know what they do on the weekends. We can only provide the regulations for when they are in our care. And it's not the most fantastic situation, but that is how the emergency childcares are running right now. I think you're going to have a hard time telling, parents that they can't be around anybody else or any other groups during their free time.
And especially the staff too. The staff, their hours have been cut considerably. Right. Some of them may be going out getting a second job. Mm-hmm. Where that second job is, I don't know. Like, I know for one department in a community, one of their summer camp staff works at Market Basket. So look at the exposure there. So that it's a really tough situation. That's where I think you've seen day camps fail already, and that's the problem.
Is there a liability issue?
I'm sorry, Val?
Well, I'm just thinking, is there a liability issue? I'm on a lot of business phone calls throughout the day, and there's a lot of businesses that haven't opened because they're afraid of being sued. Is there the potential for our town to get sued because someone transmits and...
Well, that's where we're waiting, Val, for the recommendations so we can actually run it by Primex to make sure that we're covered. As long as I think we have everything set up, policies, procedures, as long as we do our due diligence, we should be all set.
I would also think too, with Primex, there'd be some sort of a form that, parents would be able to sign or have to sign, be required to sign, saying you understand the potential risks given this time frame.
I guess I'm not so concerned about the parents. I'm not concerned about the parents. I'm concerned about someone else that could get it from a kid who was there and then come back on the town.
I think there's pretty solid liability protection from what I know about our baseball league. that's in the town and talking to some leaders around town, I think it's pretty solid protection. Otherwise, nothing can open up because that's, nobody's going to go to work anywhere if that's the concern.
And it goes back to the
it's a totally valid question, but I think at some point it's like, hey,
What I've just heard is just more of that's why some towns were keeping closed because they have the assets versus some businesses or some side camps that their assets just weren't large enough. So,
yeah, I think we're on pretty solid ground in that regard.
Yeah.
From what I know.
Okay.
I do think that, and I'm sure the rec staff have already thought about this, but the registration form in terms of that liability waiver will have to be modified. So for parents to sign, given that there is a greater risk, that they're, acknowledging that in terms of the camper. And then I don't know if there's some sort of contract with staff that you'd want them to sign to, with some sort of regulations or knowledge of changed job description type thing.
I know in trying to reopen our baseball league, it was a very simple sentence was added to the 3-page liability statement that covers everything. It's just one sentence and COVID-19. So,
and we have a registry, a waiver that we are just waiting to run it by Primex. Once we have those recommendations, it's pretty good wording. It's from a national organization that has helped a lot of parks and recs.
Okay.
But that's a great question.
It is important. My question for you, and I don't think we really thought about this yet, and maybe it's just to kind of plant a seed at this point, is, we'll be taking temperatures at the door for everybody as they come in. If somebody spikes a fever at the door during drop off, how is that handled and their entire group at that point targeted? I mean, the temperature thing's tough for me because there's so many asymptomatic people that they're either not showing temperatures or some are spiking it and it's not COVID related. I mean, how do we manage that from their group standpoint where there's going to be 5 different groups? Does the whole group go home? Does that one kid go home?
If one person has a fever, is that what you're asking, Steph?
Yeah.
So my understanding, and I will confirm this with James, but in my conversation with James is if someone has a fever, it doesn't mean that they obviously have COVID. What we would do is we would notify the parents in that group that one of the children had a fever that morning, and to be what we would call self-monitoring, monitoring the children and that kind of thing. We wouldn't need to quarantine them for just being near someone with a fever at this point, because in this scenario, we don't know that they have had COVID. If that child had tested positive for COVID, that's a different scenario. But just for having a fever, it would just be notifying the parents in that group to self-monitor for any symptoms and that kind of stuff. Steph, I feel the exact same way you do about the temperatures and the asymptomatic kids. The problem that we have is that it's in all the guidelines to do it. We're kind of stuck with doing it, even though, it's great. Yes, we can make sure people that don't have fevers aren't at camp, but we know that that's like kind of the least of our worries.
Right.
But we have to follow, what we're seeing as national standards. And for national standards, we're seeing CDC, American Camping Association, NHRPA, which is the New Hampshire Park and Rec Association. They all have the same recommendations. So I think we're a little bit stuck there, and we just have to do it.
I think that's the toughest one. Again, I'm beating a dead horse about baseball, but I've read the governor's youth sports guideline, and I agree with Steph. Not only are you supposed to take temperatures, you're supposed to ask people where they've been, where the people they're with have been. And I think if they have a temperature, you're supposed to send them home. I think that's untenable. Who's going to do that? Who's going to stand there? Okay, so you have the thermometer, so you do that. But who's really going to do that? where have you been? Have your friends been to Mass? Have your friends been to Maine and Connecticut, New Jersey, wherever? I think that's almost untenable in my mind.
Yeah, so those are the requirements that we're being given. I don't know that we have much of a choice. If we want to provide some child services for those people that need it, these are the requirements that we're being told that we need to do. One of the things we will be doing when you pull in to drop off your child, you will not be able to leave until the questions and the health screening is done. So that if, and we need to get more guidance from health on, like you said, if there's an answer to one of the questions and what's okay and what isn't okay. But then they either take the child with them and leave, or the child gets to stay. So drop-off's going to look very different than it has, which is another reason why going down to 50 kids is necessary to do a program like this.
Are those questions going to be required to be asked every day or on Mondays after the weekend? It's every day. They're going to
every day.
Every drop-off.
Every
person that comes to the field.
So something that they do, and I don't know if this would be applicable, but something that they've been doing at Access Sports, because my daughter's been going, she fractured her ankle. So when we go in, they'll call the day before, the night before, and ask all those questions. And then they're given a code. We're given a code to give them when we get in that basically signs off that we've been asked the questions. Would this be something that, if it does move forward, may make sense to have the counselor make those 10 calls the night before?
Not with the guidance right now for youth sports or youth camps.
It won't allow it. It has to be that day. It has to all be that morning. Yep. Okay. All right. I mean, or the call in the morning or something, like before they come for drop off.
The guidance right now for youth sports and youth camps is you show up, somebody puts a thermometer on your forehead and asks you where you've been.
Yep. And like Greg said, we feel pretty confident we can do this, but at the end of the day, some of these questions may prohibit us from doing this. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're having conversations like this.
Yeah, they're good to have. They're great to have because it plants the seed, but also helps our mind think about different things we hadn't really thought about. We go through the same thing at the gym. I mean, last night I woke up at 2 a.m. I literally sat up and was like, oh my God, the fans. I didn't even think about the fans blowing in there. I'm thinking about people spitting and sweating. And all of a sudden last night at 2 a.m, I sat up and went, oh my God, there's fans going. This is going to be blowing this all around. And so all these things, if we bring them up and talk about it now, we'll be able to kind of at least manage whether it's something that we can as a group manage. Do we need extra staff for that? Like, do we need morning staff that's designated just for that? And then the other question comes up as well. If we do happen to have a case that pops up somewhere and we have that group quarantine for 2 weeks, how secure and confident are we that other kids from other groups didn't use the bathroom right after them, didn't touch a water, jug or something like that. So quarantining that week for 2 weeks, even though we kept them 6 feet apart, doesn't mean they haven't had contact because they're not having. So those are other things we really need to think about as well.
Well, for bathrooms, we're turning both of the bathrooms into unisex bathrooms, and they will be the 5 groups will be assigned a specific stall and a specific sink. So we have 6 stalls, 6 sinks. So everyone will have a specific sink so we can actually trace them a little bit. And that's the one thing for that. But you're right. It's the what if game. And Mike said it best. We could play this all night with the what ifs because that's where we've been keeping Melissa, David, and I up all night is what if this?
I don't think you can play the what if game. I think we're going to see a little. I've heard some rumblings. We may see some guidance from the governor up the counts of people allowed. But the biggest problem I have with everything I've seen is the morning check-in.
Yeah.
Or the game check-in. To me, that, like I said, I don't know how you do that. You're going to ask a 17-year-old camp counselor to take somebody's temperature, question them on their travel, question them on their family history every morning. I don't see how you do that. I hate to be a negative Nelly, but I just don't see how you do it.
Well, I see how we do it, but what I don't see, and this doesn't mean anything toward anyone, is everyone's looking at livelihood right now. I mean, we're all trying to survive by keeping our jobs and working in daycare. Are we going to be, not that we're going to be upfront, but if the kid's got a sniffle in the morning or something, but they really need to get to work because they need to put food on the table, how's that going to go? I mean, priority is obviously taking care of our family. And those are the things that I think about that have been giving me gut-wrenching feelings about any of this stuff moving forward too, is we have to go on the trust system, the honor system, and just hope that everybody is being upfront.
Well, I don't think they will. My personal thought, I hate to say it, I'm in the same boat on our baseball league, is that we just shouldn't play. It's too hard. The people who are going to get put in the tough spot is the 17-year-old camp counselor. Yeah. Can you imagine being that person? When the woman comes in the morning and says, no, she doesn't have a fever. No, she hasn't been to Massachusetts. No, she's stopping at the camp. I've seen it. I've seen it at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to put people in that position. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm with Mike, where the one problem is philosophies of people. Some people are taking this seriously and some people are not.
I worry about the position that we're putting in with canceling. And if the recommendations are, here's how you do it safely, we're not living in normal times. And so there will be this process of having a more detailed and rigorous check-in and having to, make space for that in our training and in our lives. I mean, now we're asked to wear masks in public, and some of us are doing it, some of us are not. But, I think it's one of those things. I would be really remiss if we didn't try this. Mm-hmm. And so if we are able within the guidelines in order to make it as safe as possible, let's see if we can do it. I want to continue down this path. And I also, if there's a way to have, volunteers come and do the check-in questions, because it is a lot to ask a 17-year-old. I totally agree. And I also think that there should be some sort of code of conduct that you have to sign in order to participate in the camp. So if you're, you say, yes, I will truthfully tell you to the best of my ability and be cooperative and work with everybody. There's just some things that we can't mitigate for, because Mike, I totally hear you, but I also think if we can do this safely, or as safely as we can, we need to try.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that Melissa and Greg and Dave have done really well is that the staffing that they've retained have been the seasoned senior staff that are, they're still young and they're still, college age kids, but some of them aren't college age. Some of them are teachers, and some of them are, a little older as well, like the director, people at the director level. So they haven't retained, unfortunately for them, the younger kids that are just jumping into the situation. And Dave's aware that the training is going to be completely different. So I think, at least by retaining the director level counselors and staff, it will help them to be a little more strong-headed in those questions that they ask and how they ask them and how they handle themselves. Has there been any thought to, I know we've increased staff because of potential, exposure risks and things of that nature. Have we looked at increasing staff for the ability of something like this, the check-ins? And I personally think one staff member for 10 kids is not enough. I mean, that's just I'm thinking 2 for 10 would be adequate. And still, I look at the first, second, third grader kids, keeping those kids 6 feet apart. They love to hug. It's like troll hug time for those kids. And I wonder, one staff member, that's a lot to put on one staff member for 10 kids that they have to space out like that all day long. Have we thought about increasing staff? Do we have the means to do that?
Melissa? All right.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if it was you or me. So we have, it comes down to money. We provide this program on a normal summer for such a discounted rate compared to other programs locally that we just can't afford it. So offering this program for a reduced number of weeks, we're still adding almost $300 to the program. And that's what's helping us purchase to get extra staff. We're basically, the budget is basically to break even. So there just isn't anything left in the budget unless we ask people for more money. When we asked for more money in the survey, I think one of the questions was like $400 and one was $280. Once you went up to the $400, people were far less interested. More people were interested in the $280, $300 range. It's still very affordable when you look at other camp programs or other activities. I agree. I would love to see us have a little bit more staff, but since we are 100% dependent on program fees, nothing is subsidized through the town. We would have to raise our prices even further. And the feedback we're getting from the residents is that they're not interested in paying much more than that.
I ask a quick question about the reimbursement that's been, that some towns are filing every month to get reimbursement, and would additional staff or extra supplies that the rec department needs to buy to be able to provide this camp, is that eligible for some of the COVID relief that's that people can get, that towns can get? Do we know?
Some of it is, but not staffing wise. But like the supplies, if it's COVID related, like extra first aid, because everyone's going to have their own first aid kit, and it's little things like that. And for instance, the town only was allocated $360,000 for the whole entire town.
Yeah.
So it can't go to lost revenue or anything. So it's NHMA, the New Hampshire Municipal Association, spells it out very detailed of what it can be used for. So
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, yes and no. But Mike, on your point, Melissa, David, and I will be there. So it's not like they're going to be the 17, 18-year-olds telling the parents going away. Obviously, if a camper has a temperature, probably Melissa, myself, or David are going to be called over, and then we'll be the ones talking with the parents, not the staff themselves.
I saw something at Market Basket in Stratham this weekend that was horrific. 16-year-old checkout girl, and it's going to happen.
I do think the difference is these are people who are registering and saying that they're willing to participate in our process so that they can have the value of a camp experience, rather than people going to the grocery store, all of these random people going to the grocery store. You are subscribing to the service. You are agreeing by the guidelines. So I do think that there is a little bit of a difference. And I honestly would be surprised if you had parents who, if they are prepped ahead of time that this is going to be the daily routine, I have a hard time believing anyone would balk at it as long as they knew about it ahead of time.
Bryn, I hope you're right.
I think parents are going to be so grateful for the service. Those who really need this and are sending their kiddos, I think they're going to be grateful for the service. And they're going to be bringing, that's the other thing. What about the parents who want to bring Freezy Pops? What about the parents who want to bring donuts in the morning? I think you're going to have more of that you're going to have to turn away out of people's gratitude. You know what I mean? Like I sense that that's where you're going to be at, is being like, no, you can't give gift certificates, and no, you can't give donuts in the morning, because I think people will genuinely be appreciative. my daughter works at Ani's Bagelry, and her tips are through the roof because people are so grateful that the bagel shop is open. So I hope that that's going to continue with the camp trend.
The other thing too is if these people genuinely need care, it doesn't matter where they go. These are going to be the requirements no matter where they go.
Yeah.
So they're
that's
going to have to.
That's a good point, Melissa.
I mean, I think it comes down to, we just have to wait to see what the guidelines are. I'm disappointed that they didn't get them out sooner because it is crunch time now. People really need this information. You guys need this information to be able to move the program forward. And, you know, I'm devastated for you guys that you don't have it, because I know that makes a giant step backwards for you right now where you're at. So, you know, we'll just have to look and wait for the guidelines and keep those questions in mind and those concerns in mind, because, you know, it is something that needs to happen if we can make it happen.
Can we be alerting? Sorry, Stephanie.
Yeah, you're fine
to talk over you. Would it be helpful to email parents and say we're working on it, we're just waiting for the guidelines? Or was that your email, Greg, that didn't reach people?
That was in today's email, the follow-up, like we're working on it, but we're still waiting. And unfortunately,
gotcha.
We're stuck. But to David's point, when David mentioned, so I hate to say what if, sorry, Mike. What if there's a positive case and a group has to quarantine for 2 weeks? We're paying the staff. Are we refunding fully?
You've got to prorate somehow, or you've got to, you know, because those kids are going to come back in 2 weeks. So you're going to have to prorate, I would think. That's another dilemma that the three of us are having, because it is such a break-even program right now. It's a bare bones. Right.
That's a lot of revenue. Like, here you go. We're still expending, but we got to give back a refund. So it's going to go in the negative really quickly if we have any quarantining going on.
Could we say when people register for camp, or could there be some guidelines saying, listen, if you register for this camp, you're agreeing to kind of live within, you know, some boundaries, that if a positive case, collectively, we have to agree, if there's a positive case, your kid's camp pod has the risk of being shut down and you not having childcare for 2 weeks. I mean, again, you can't really control this, but could you say, again, up front, like, we're hoping everyone kind of lives by the guidelines of not traveling to Massachusetts and, you know, licking the palms of every person that you meet, so that you can have people say, yeah, I'm going to do my best to keep my fellow campers safe, or the family. You know, I don't know. We can't obviously enforce that, but perhaps there could be some wording that this is a ramification if there's a positive case in this camp. Therefore, if you want childcare for your kiddo, we might want to all abide by some set of guidelines when we're not at camp.
Well, and maybe it even is like, okay, you get a 50% refund because, you know, when you pay for daycare, you don't get a refund if you have to keep your kids home. This is a little bit different, but there are some costs that are just going to be the same no matter what, like staff, like whatever. And so I think it would, to your point, Bryn, I think it would incentivize people to really social distance while they're not at camp, so that we're not getting sick and they're losing money. But I mean, I don't see how you can
force it. You can't.
You can't force it, but you can't also, you know, there are some risks that are associated with childcare. One of them is paying for childcare when your kid is sick. I mean, I've done it for years.
So to that point, do we have to give a refund? Because can it just be something that is something that they're signing saying, I understand the risk, I'll abide by the rules, and that does incentivize them more. And you're right, Molly. I mean, I paid for years for, you know, $100 a day for kids that sit at home with me because they were sick.
And I think this is that I think that there's something that we can be, because we're not trying to make money off of it. We just need to not
pay.
Right. We're not trying. Right. So maybe it's like, okay, well, you get your Yeah, it's just. Ugh.
I mean, when my
and really,
my
they're not going to find
daycare
for the 2 weeks anyway. So let's say it's not like another camp's going to open and they're like, oh, well, Joe Smith can come down and see us for 2 weeks because they can't go to Exeter Rec. The parents are going to be home at that point. They're not going to be paying someone else.
If they went to one of the daycares that was available, because we've done this in the past, if something happened and a classroom got shut down, we'd still be paying for them to be there. That's just how it works. And it may come down to the point that, I mean, this is daycare. This isn't a camp. And as hard as it is, it may be a situation where these are the risks and you need to take it up front because we're breaking even. I mean, it doesn't need to be awarded, we're breaking even. But it needs to be understood up front that if, God forbid, something happens and your group is shut down for 2 weeks, I don't think we really can do a reimbursement when you think about it. You wouldn't be getting that at a daycare. Well,
and certainly not the full reimbursement.
Right.
Because there's administrative costs that you just have to.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, the other thing is we don't want to incentivize somebody lying about it.
Right. Exactly.
I went up fishing at Little Lake Sunapee on Sunday, and I would say 70% of the cars on the road were Massachusetts cars. So this thing of I've not been out of state is a joke. It's an absolute joke. And I'm sorry, but I'm being frank. We're talking about daycare for 50 kids. How much are we going to charge? What is it, $250 times 50? And we're talking about all this risk and all this. Personally, I just don't think it's reasonable. I hate to say it. I love the rec camp. I love what Greg and Melissa and Dave have done. It breaks my heart to say this. I just don't think we can do it. That's my take.
It's more like $980 though, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's the same as our camp, but additional $250 on top of that, or $300 on top of what we usually charge. Yeah. Well, I think what we get, unfortunately, is sit back and wait for the governor's orders to come through and see what the guidelines are to begin with, and see if they're even going to allow us to move forward with it. And the bottom line is we really have to look and see, based on what you guys have mapped out, if it's feasible to do. I think that a really good point was brought up. I don't remember if it was Bryn or Val. I would really like to request that tomorrow an email go out from Greg saying that we hang tight. We're waiting for the guidelines to move forward. If you are interested in a care program, and I know we did the surveys, but I would get out an email and say, please respond back to us by Friday, so we can at least get a number, an estimated number that we're working with here and thinking about. So we can gauge whether it's 25 kids, whether it's 100 kids, because that's square one to start from, if we even are going to have to start sifting through who comes.
And what age?
Right, exactly. Map out the guidelines of the ages that we're looking for or the grade that we're looking at, and say, please get back to us by Friday as to whether this is something that you were interested in, if we are able to provide it based on state guidelines. And then kind of start to compile data, because if you wait for the governor's orders and then start to compile it, it's way too late. It's way too late for us to move forward on that. But I'd love to see that email go out first thing in the morning or tonight and just get a gauge on where we're at. Because I know what the surveys said, but I also know some people didn't get them. So I want to make sure everybody gets this information and can get back to us so we can kind of set a ball in motion. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, guys.
So in regards to people not getting them, when I sent the surveys out, I took the emails from our system, put them in my own personal email, and blind CC'd everyone, which is what Greg would be doing in this particular scenario. So it wasn't sent out through our software system. If people didn't get it, besides maybe a few going to spam, which we'd have to double check, it's because they didn't give us an updated email address.
Okay.
Because I actually made sure not to send the emails through our software system and sent them out through my personal email.
Yeah, I think more email than less is, I think, key at this point. whatever we've done in the past is the past. I think people are feeling stressed and inundated, and they might not be getting it the first time around. I think regular communication, and this is all part of, we talked about this regardless of this camp. We've talked about this for the rec project. We've talked about this for other things. I think as a rec department, I think more communication is going to be better than less, to get more people feeling like, oh, the rec really works hard for us. Yeah. We know you do. I don't know if everyone in town knows that.
Yeah, I agree, especially right now. I mean, the stress level is so high for everyone. And I know between work and personal emails, I mean, I'm getting inundated with emails that I couldn't find the link to get on this tonight. I had to send Bob Glowacki a message. I couldn't even find this link, and it's been on my radar for how long. So we may be seeing emails come through, and on our end, it's we sent it, but we're all getting so many emails that they're falling between the cracks. So I think we should over communicate right now, and let them know what's going on, to try and ease the stress level and ease the communication level of people calling and saying what's going on, and us fielding it on the street. I can't tell you, our neighborhood is so heavily walked. I've had more people stop and be like, what's going on with camp? And I'm like, wait, what do you mean what's going on with camp? And didn't you get the email, or did you get this? No, I got nothing. I saw nothing. So we need to Facebook it. We need to email it. We need to get it out there so people know that this is a possibility and that we're working on it, so they don't think that it was forgotten and falls between the cracks. So if that email can get out, that would be amazing, to at least start to get some numbers and find out what we're working with. I do also, and offline we'll talk about some potential options if our numbers fly over 50. There's some stuff out there that we can talk about once we have the numbers. But right now we don't know where it's at. If it's at 50, we're good. But if it's over 50, there's some potential options that we can talk about after the fact that are out there. So, all right. So what's that?
I will just say, after my negative comments, I will do whatever I can do. If we pull this camp off, I'll do whatever I can do to pull it off. I'll go put up fence, rake fields, do whatever. And
it's childcare. It's not camp. That's really important. Yes. We specifically gave this another name. It is Kids Care or Care Kids program. It is not camp, because we don't want people to go with the expectation that this is camp. Well,
I'm going to send my kids up there to do the work, because that'll be their childcare.
I think it's perfect. I'll send mine too. We'll have them come by, grab them, and we'll reward them in the cage after.
but Mike, you're not alone. I mean, I work for the City of Portsmouth Rec Department, and we did cancel our summer camp because it was too much. So I really think that we're so lucky here in Exeter that our rec staff are examining this so closely and trying so hard. It's a real testament to our staff that they didn't just throw in the towel saying there is too much. And that might end up happening, that you can't do it, but the thought and the care you're putting into this to try and serve the residents of Exeter should really be applauded, because it is so hard.
I totally agree, Brent. Greg and Melissa and Dave, I can't say it enough. I wouldn't be on this board if I didn't think that there were people working hard to do the best for our kids, and that's why I'm here. I may be a little negative sometimes, but
you're a realist.
Stating my opinion.
No, we just need to. That's what dialogue is: differing viewpoints.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that there are any right answers, and there are certainly no easy answers here. Mm-hmm. And so, if we're allowed to do something, if it's prudent to do something, if we can do something that's safe, I am supportive. But I'm worried about the people who are going to have no options. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that we are examining every aspect of this, because there are no right answers and there are no good options.
Melissa said it best on Monday, where she said, think of all the daycares. Everyone is taking an inherent risk opening up their daycares, and the town should try every effort to do the same to help their residents.
Right. And that's what it's about, is when it comes down to it, it's about helping our residents get through what they need to get through if it's possible for us to do it. And I think that this is something that is a risk that we're going to have to take. But having this dialogue is a good thing, because we're thinking of all the risks ahead of time before they come and hit us. And hopefully nothing comes of anything. That would be the best scenario, but you have to be prepared for the worst and, move forward. And if it doesn't happen, great. That's what we want. So
I have a question. What if we had 40 people or 40 kids that want to be part of it? Would it not be able to happen at that point? Or do we need 50 and only 50?
I think if we were to get 40, we could probably adjust a few things, but we would need at least 40. I can confirm that number. I want to say the number is, I think we talked 40 to 50, because we can adjust some staff salaries, but we would need at least 40. It really works best with 50. It gives us a small contingency line for some of these issues that we're talking about. Yeah.
Stephanie, do you know if the Y is running their summer camp?
Don't know yet. They're going to also find out on Friday. We had a call this morning that was talking about summer camp, about Action Kids, about the opening of the gym. And they're talking about it. They're trying to put parameters together, but they're also still waiting for the governor's orders to see. But I know that they're planning proactively to move forward with it if they're allowed to. But they're also just waiting. Everyone's on hold for the governor. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. And that's kind of the word for openings of gyms and things like that. Same thing. Everyone's just kind of on hold. So, Melissa, you kind of mentioned a little bit about the pool not being open. We're still on that, correct? And that's not, because that's our next agenda item. We'll move forward with that. Not going to move forward with that this summer at all, correct?
Yeah, so unfortunately, for us, it isn't that the guidelines say we can't open the pool. What the guidelines prohibit us from doing is providing swim lessons. Mm-hmm. And then also the social distancing, keeping people 6 feet apart with inside the pool water and on the pool deck, and a few other things. So we would have expected a decrease in revenue, but our swim lessons really offset a very, very large chunk of the cost of running the pool. And without being able to do that, we have no way of making up that revenue to cover the cost of opening the pool.
Okay. Thank you. I think that, and if you have any questions on the pool, I think that was pretty clear cut. We knew it wasn't going to open. Okay, we'll move forward on that then. I just wanted to make sure we brought that up. Fireworks. Greg, you want to talk to us a little bit about?
That was, yes, we brought it up at last select board meeting. Mm-hmm. Right now, I don't think they made an official vote, but I think it was pretty much a consensus that right now we can't have the fireworks. The Independence Festival has canceled as well. Right. So there wouldn't be anything prior to it. That's something that we hadn't signed a contract anyway. So a lot of people are canceling. Bryn and Portsmouth they canceled the fireworks. And I don't think there's a way to social distance in this, even if it goes up to 50.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, and Greg's right about the contracts and the money ahead of time. It has to be done with so much notice and put up money that you really do have to make a decision.
Yeah.
You can't, this isn't something you'd be like, well, let's wait and see. I mean, there's just so much money involved in fireworks.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Did anybody have any questions about fireworks as well, or also pretty self-explanatory in those? Which brings us to the next thing. I'm not sure if any of you had the opportunity to watch the select board meeting last week. Greg and Melissa were able to present a different kind of idea for the town to keep the town involved and keep the kids active and keep them active safely, called the Rolling Rec. And I'll let them kind of let you know what the idea is and what their thoughts were on how to do something like this if possible for the summer. So if you guys want to take that over, and Dave too. I forget seeing you down there in the corner.
Yeah. So our plan is to bring the rec vans into neighborhoods so people could pre-register, like one neighborhood would be on one Friday, and this hit the different segments of town to actually provide a little joy, maybe do a dance party, some arts and crafts, social distancing. We have pop-up tents and everything. The reason why we like this idea of going in is, one, we don't have to worry about bathroom facilities because they're in their neighborhood, they can run home. Two, if they get hurt doing an activity, mom and dad is right close by, hopefully. And three, it just something different. I know it's the Kona ice truck is now, you can make appointments to have it go to your neighborhoods, and you don't have to worry. You don't have to pre-order anything, and they'll come around your neighborhood like the ice cream truck. Similar, where we're not going to be able to hit every neighborhood every week. We are trying to find some kind of sponsorships, but you know how sponsorships are now, to help defray some cost, because you do remember Melissa, David, and myself are also backups to the summer camp. So at the same time, we need to be at the summer camp, but we need to do this as well, because with 50 kids, the neighborhood kids are going to be looking for stuff to do.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
All we need is some shag carpeting in the van now.
No,
I'll buy the shag carpeting.
We don't want to be that kind of man. I think it's a great idea too. And we were talking about doing, some neighborhood Zumba classes and neighborhood, even yoga classes and things like that, and just making it a really fun time. And as soon as we started talking about that, my phone started blowing up and people started sending me their neighborhoods, like, come here, come there. So I think it's a great idea. It's a great alternative. It's something different in a different time. And I think that we'll definitely be meeting. Our next meeting will probably be a lot of discussion on what we can do. We'll know a lot more about the guidelines for that as well.
I think you should roll out with Nerf machine guns.
That'd be nice.
No, we'd have to sanitize everything. So
that's a good thing. Well, just throw them away.
Just throw them away. I have a bunch to donate. Please take them. I had a whole closet you can take them, please.
So we are open to any suggestions too for activities that you all would think, especially like what kind of activities would you like to see in your neighborhoods? That's the big thing. Like, we could throw out stuff, but if we don't have kids that will come to the van and interact with us, then what use are we?
When Melissa did the Easter Bunny thing, that was a big hit. And I wonder if there's something similar that could be done with another critter. Or it doesn't have to be as intensive where you had all those questions, but even just a rolling drive-through or something but Melissa, that was such a big hit, I think. So maybe something similar to that, modeled after
Let's see what else we can get her to do.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could, if you're going to pre-register, if you could throw some barricades in the van and have neighborhoods register to shut down a couple blocks and have a little pop-up neighborhood party. You could socially distance. The kids could be out on their bikes or just walking around, just a little from 2 to 4, this block of X Street is going to be shut down and the rec van's coming and we're going to have X, Y, and Z, and everybody come out and say hello.
Or in a parking lot, say it's this parking lot at this time. Have we given any more thought to drive-in movie?
Yes, it's further on our agenda. So,
sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't read the agenda.
Something also we can think of doing, it's going to be a lot longer than a normal parade, but like neighborhood parade for the 4th of July, like the rec could put together something where we have some sort of floats or something like that. And we,
you could just send some emergency vehicles and people would be thrilled if you did a roaming.
Yeah.
People just love one fire truck and one police vehicle and it's whooping through the neighborhoods. Kids would go bananas.
Well, the fire department and the police department have been doing that for kids. right through this.
It's been amazing. The birthday things have been amazing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they love that. They love that. I just want Melissa to have to wear another costume. It's funny.
Isn't there some sort of like red, white, and blue Uncle Sam?
Isn't there an Uncle Sam bunny out there or something?
You wear the big hats, and you can perfect your wave.
Or we can find something. I thought my shoulder was going to be broken for weeks after that.
Can we include stilts?
Not if you want me to.
Only if you're walking on them, Stephanie.
That won't be me. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
But there's also like the promotion of trails, and maybe we can just do a better job of like geocaching or promoting hiking, or maybe there's some sort of like, those painting of the rocks initiative that's in Exeter. Perhaps we could tie into a scavenger hunt with the rocks, or putting out rocks, or I don't know, something that already exists that the rec can simply promote, or all the CELT trails that are out there. Is there a partnership or information that we could share that promotes hiking and getting out there, but you don't have to run it?
Yeah, even a townwide scavenger hunt would be really fun. We do that in our neighborhood. We did a nighttime scavenger hunt a couple weeks ago with the whole neighborhood. It was so much fun. But even if we did, a nighttime or a daytime scavenger hunt with people and some sort of reward or something, I don't know. But there's lots of stuff we can do that I think would be really fun. And people are psyched. You're right. People are really grateful for these things, just the small things. People are so grateful for these little things that are out there right now. So let's keep those ideas coming. Email Greg and Melissa and Dave and let them know. And we'll definitely chat about how we can move this forward in the next meeting as well. Special events. To your point, Brian, we're moving on to the drive-in concerts and the drive-in movie that we were just discussing. So take it away, guys.
Well, first, the concerts, I put it on there, may be off the table because right now, as you all know, with this, we came up with a 10% budget reduction, and concerts were included in it, unless the select board wants to authorize it. But that's something where we might have to think creative. We're still working on it, and I was speaking to Rustine, town manager. He said, let's see what Friday has to say, because obviously the governor, we're waiting for summer camp, but the stay-at-home order ends on the 31st.
Right.
So what is he doing? Is he extending it? Is he going to increase the size groups? I still think concerts at Swayze would be difficult to do, if anything, because people are clamoring for anything to go out. Drive-ins could be a possibility, but that is up in the air. But the movies are definitely a go. Melissa did an awesome job actually finding out we can charge for a per car fee for people to come in. We have secured a location that could fit 50 cars. I know it doesn't sound, but we remember our screen's only 26 feet wide. So any more cars any further back, we wouldn't be able to see it. So New England Truck Center on Epping Road would be willing to host us. And Sawbelly would be willing to have car service so people could order food.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Yeah. So
is New England Truck still Mike Lambert?
Yep. And they would actually use one of their flatbed trucks as a stage. We put the screen on it so it's a little higher up.
Smart.
Nice. That's awesome.
Still working out details, but we're gonna quickly start figuring out dates, and that's where we're gonna ask you what day of the week do you think this would be successful?
Friday night.
I was thinking Friday too.
Friday Night Lights.
I was thinking Wednesday.
You're thinking weekday.
Midweek.
Friday night's my vote.
All right.
I think any night you do it, people are going to come out.
I think Jen's right.
You're probably right, Jen.
Is this going to be a one-shot deal, or is this something where we have the movie rights to be able to run it a couple times?
I'd have to defer to Melissa. She's more familiar. Is it one shot or is it per showing, Melissa?
So the license is for a single showing. But I think we were talking about trying to get this into some sort of like a weekly category. So if we can only take 50 cars, we release, these are how I think that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you guys today, is if you agreed with that. And if, for how long and when. We were talking today as a department, and I think the weekly aspect of it would allow people to get in the groove of knowing like Friday nights is where the movie is, and that kind of stuff. It gets a little bit tricky because it gets darker a little later, so we can't do like little kid movies. Usually we may be able to do one or two. But because it doesn't even start till like 8:00 because of waiting to get dark, you'll normally see more like the elementary, middle school, adult type stuff. That's more
like Jumanji.
There you go.
I love the idea. It might also behoove Sawbellies for it to not be a Friday night if they're open to the public. So you might want to ask them.
They prefer Tuesday or Thursday, to be honest with you. So either one of those days
would actually be a decent night.
Thursday. I like Thursday night too. Can we go back to the college? Yeah, that's true, Steph. And if we go back to the concerts for a second, does it need to be a band, or could there just be a DJ by DJ I mean Melissa or Dave, on the Swayze Parkway, with me, a playlist, and there's just music and people could just be walking, and it doesn't have to be a sit down concert so much as just the ambient music, or little kids could maybe dance and stuff. But
I think Swayze is concerning. At least to me. I don't know, Molly, what your thoughts are from you guys. Swayze, I think, is so much of a draw that at least being at the truck.
I don't mean the movie. I mean like a concert, like we were
right. But I think that being in Swayze Park, there's really no way to control. I think you'd have some control issues as opposed to being confined in a car, because as we talked about before with the drive-in, and people would have to stay in their cars. It couldn't be old school, like they come out and put the blanket out, like they've got to be in their car with the transistor and things like that. There's no way to really do that at Swayze. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I'm not talking about a movie.
Right. No, I'm talking about with a concert, it would be more so because people would be dancing, moving around, as opposed to like a sitting type of thing. Right.
Yeah. Like it doesn't involve your car.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying, is because the car is there for the movie, we can contain it, but there's no car involved in a concert or a DJ type situation. So to be able to contain that, I would think would be really hard, and to be able to control the environment and the spacing of people would be really hard. Like we'd need to get people involved in controlling that. We'd need to hire people to come in to control the spacing, I would think. And
yeah, that's what I meant is it's like, how you just have to always be like on right now, it can walk. Like there isn't a lot of, like it would be similar. It's just ambient music playing.
But I think that would limit the type of music that you would have. I mean, there's certain music that's kind of like in the back, like elevator music, and people are just kind of strolling. But if you have something that's a little louder and people are dancing together, then that can be an issue. And I also just think of, once it gets warm and people are going to get ice cream, and even just thinking about that as a place where people are going to congregate. So even if you have these events where people are distancing, you also have these kind of offshoot sites where I think it'll be harder for people to distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similarly to why they moved the farmers market. I mean, because that was a concern of the congregation coming, not just people coming for farmers market, but people will hear it and go, oh, what's going on? And then they're so thirsty for getting out and having some contact. But I love the idea. I wish that we could trust that everybody wouldn't be those people, but we've all seen it. We've seen those people out.
I think we should move forward with the movies immediately.
I do too. I do too.
Just do it. Just put the word out that if you've already got the venue, if they want Tuesday or Thursday saw bellies, I think we just do it. I don't know if we have to vote or have a motion or what's got to happen. I think we should just do that.
I'm in full agreement of that one too. I mean, and I also think that, we need to manage it too, so that, the 50 cars or that get registered for the first one, that we open up the opportunity for other people each time. So it can't be the same repeat offenders every single week. We've got to be able to spread it out. And if it doesn't fill up, then you can open it up. But I think that if we can provide a list up front of like each week what the movie is going to be, people will be able to say, okay, this is the week I really want to go, and maybe register up front for that movie for their kids.
Melissa, were you thinking of online registration for the movies ahead of time, or just paying at the gate?
No, we want to do online registration with the license plate being required, so that we know who's coming in and who's already paid. That way there's no transaction of money also when we're down there. Sorry, I was just about to say something else.
Where would the screen be? Would the screen be facing the tow truck place?
Yes. So the back of the screen would be against Epping Road. So people could, just like, when you pass the old school drive-ins and you're like, oh, I wonder what movie they're watching.
Yeah. Because they have a fence there not too far away from Epping Road. But if Michael Lambert's engaged with it, he's pretty savvy.
How are they going to have parking spaces available that are kind of numbered for Sawbelly? If there's 50 cars, how are they going to know? Are you going to say like this one's going to spot 6 or spot whatever? Would we number that? And then would the cars be assigned to?
I think that would be really hard. What I would probably do more is like concert parking. Like if you have a pass to get in the lot, you show the pass and then you park accordingly to as you get there. So the person will go in, first spot, and then, just like I said,
we may need volunteers to help us with traffic and those fancy lights waving around to aim them into the right direction. So
I'd be glad to do that, but I also think we might want to go up there. We don't need the screen, but I'm kind of knowledgeable of the parking lot up there. I did some work for Al's Towing up there, and if that screen, say, were centered on if the site there's a fence next to Al's Towing's building. If the screen were centered on that fence, and if you were parked over in front of Sawbelly, I don't think you'd see the screen. So we might want to just go walk that site a little bit and look at it.
Sure. I know I met with Sawbelly and New England Truck Center, and they had proposed putting the truck right next to Epping Road. There's a little grass spot, and then aiming it back towards them, and then just follow. Yeah. Oh,
okay. I know what you mean. Yeah. Then you could see it the whole way there.
Correct. And we did buy a transmitter at Bob and Exeter TV, got us a connection. We bought a transmitter for like $162, I believe.
That's awesome.
And it goes up to 200 yards. Anything above that or beyond that, we start getting in FCC territory, which we do not want to do.
Yeah, okay. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah. What's the date that we could start this rolling?
Those guys are ready to go, but we want to advertise it, so we're talking middle of June.
Yeah. So what's our first date? What do you guys think?
Well, that's why we had wanted to get input on days and weeks. So if you're looking at it, probably off the top of my head, probably that week, either 16th or the 18th of June.
I mean, I think we got to stick with Tuesday, Thursday if Sawbelly says it's the best for them. I think that's a good idea. I would say Thursday would probably make sense. What do you guys think? I mean, Tuesday is so early in the week off the weekend. Friday is somewhat like a weekend to begin with. And will they deliver beer?
They cannot actually deliver open beer, but they can deliver 4-packs to your car.
Beer to go.
Yeah.
Right.
No one's going to ask what's in your car.
As long as the driver is not drinking it. So they will have to make sure that that's definitive.
Let me just throw this out there. The last day of school is Tuesday, June 4th. Thursday, June 4th. I mean, it could be, I wonder if we could push it and really go fast and try and do it for the 11th, the first week kids are out of school, give families something to look forward to. I'm just throwing it out there.
It's a great idea if we can. Is that too much, guys? Or is that something that we think is feasible to do?
I think from our department, it's fine. Greg, you would need to reach out to Saw Belly and those guys to confirm. But I mean, I don't think there's a lot of events happening right now. So I think we should be able to get
In meeting with them last week, they said, whenever you want to start. So they're all for this.
I don't think this is going to require a lot of advertising. I really don't think this is going to require a lot, considering like what Melissa said, there's not a lot going on right now. People are going to be really psyched for something like this.
Great.
So you guys want to shoot for the 11th?
Yep.
Do you have a list of movies or a movie in mind?
Not yet. We were waiting to chat with you guys to see, and then I can start putting stuff together.
Jumanji.
Jumanji is what I heard. Yeah, I heard Jumanji.
I think it's a good family friendly, but not too kid type movie.
Thinking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I like that movie. I was just joking.
I was hoping you were joking. I was actually thinking Ferris Bueller's Day Off for some reason.
Oh, that's fun. So Barnsley is doing movies. You might want to check what they're playing, as well as the Galley Hatch is showing movies, drive-in style movies. So you might just want to see what movies they're showing and then not show those.
Right.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
We will look at all of those. Yep.
Throw some clean movies, or if you want to throw a list out to us.
I'm going to walk in the other room and ask my kids.
I like the idea of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Stephanie. I think that's.
I was just thinking for me. I was watching an 80s thing last night, and it was all like a bunch of inappropriate movies, but then that one popped up, and I was like, oh, that's one the kids could watch.
Who is the Sausage King of Chicago?
I love
be able to answer those.
Kids need to be able to watch what we watch, and we're cool.
Right.
So you guys want to shoot for the 11th if we can do it? Let us know if that's feasible. If we can do that, and anything we can do to help out, let us know. Because I think it's gonna be a blast. I'd love to help out, and my kids, I'll make them help out as well. What'd they vote for, Mike?
Sandlot.
What?
Yeah, of course they voted for Sandlot. It's a good movie, but they're baseball boys. Tay would say Sandlot too.
What are you guys thinking of charging per car?
$10.
Oh, that's a great rate.
So I think what we were saying is between 10 and 15. But I think that's what we were trying to do. The goal of something like this for us is just to get the community out and about and community involvement. So
it might be nice to have a number of different restaurants be able to deliver food.
Yeah, so
is that possible?
Well, I don't know that it would be possible keeping it at the Saw Valley location. Greg and I were chatting about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a traffic nightmare, I would think.
Well, I also don't think they'd be happy with us bringing other people in. What?
Is there a way to have it be $10, let's just say, and then do you have the ability to have like a donation of $5? So those families who are happy to give $15 per car could do so. Is there a way that the registration can be built in to do something like that?
That's a great idea.
Greg, that's a you question. I am not sure about our.
Yeah, no, I definitely, it'd be you call to register. Our admin would call you and say, hey, yes, would you like to make the additional $5 donation to the department?
Yeah, I don't know. It's worth an ask, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea. All right. Well, I love this. Get the list of movies out to us and we'll figure it out. And let's plan on rolling for this on the 11th if we can make it happen. If not, let's get it done as soon as we can, because I think that we need this.
Do you guys have any licensing issues with giving out the name of the movie?
Yeah, so that's actually what I was just going to say is that I've got to go back and confirm, and I apologize because I haven't looked at it in a year. There are different rules, but I believe we can put it on space, but I got to take a look. There's ways for us to put the movie name out, and there are ways that we can't. And I just have to confirm. I just have to go back and look. I apologize. I should have had that tonight.
Yeah.
I just spaced.
You've had a long week. It's been a lot going on. So totally, you get it by, guys. You all get buys on anything you might not have.
That's just a great idea. The movie thing's a great idea, guys.
Love it. Love it. So fall outlook, guys. Fall sports. Any thoughts? We're still waiting for orders on those as well.
Specifically, the task force talked about contact sports, and those are the sports in the fall. Our flag football, which by the way, we had to cancel our flag football camp because the guidelines were too restrictive for him to pull that off. But it's flag football. Soccer is obviously a contact sport, even though they can be played far apart, but it's just that chance of opportunity to hitting each other. So we're waiting. We do have the registration out there for people to register. I just would hate to get all these registrations in if, lo and behold, we can't have a fall season. So, but everything points to them wanting to have sports. How that looks, and Mike can talk to it best, where even when baseball goes to phase 2, I believe there's a limit of 30 people and no spectators. So you're talking coaches, they're not even using the dugouts. So what is fall soccer going to look like in fall flag football?
Yeah, no decisions.
If we can do it.
Yeah. All right. So powder keg, I would assume, would be the same. I mean, powder keg right now. What do you got? The beer fests are dropping very rapidly. No one is comfortable going to a beer fest. Having talked to Jen Wheeler, their concern is one, they've started the process in sponsorship, but everyone's up in the air still. They don't know the outlook of their business. We don't know if the restaurants will be available. What began as a surge for beer sales has suddenly now gone into 2 months, and some of the larger breweries are losing massive amount of money because they had kegs sitting in restaurants that were closed for 2 months. Oh, yeah.
So they're taking them back and replacing them at their cost. So, for instance, 603 estimates they're going to lose about $70,000 just in replacing those kegs.
Jesus.
So that is an outlook. A lot of smaller guys are still comfortable, but what's going to be the restrictions? Will 6 feet social distancing still be in effect in the fall, which I believe it will be. Yeah. So the outlook does not look good, but it's June. We're going to probably have to have that serious conversation to pull the plug or not. Having looked into moving it to the spring and gotten feedback, a lot of them are just saying, this is a year to reset. We got to take the year off and not push it to say, let's just reschedule till spring, because there's almost a set schedule in beer festivals. We all line up. We all have our spot. So if one of us moves to a weekend that there's another one doing it, if it's not far enough away from each other, now we're just cannibalizing each other. So that is one of the outlooks. And you guys have all seen the article in the newspaper. The chambers are hurting because of their lost revenue, and losing an event possibly like this is going to hurt them even more.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate the update on that, because I know that this has been a week by week thing. Just can't make decisions, and it's been hard for everybody. So thank you guys for staying on top of those. We really appreciate it. Any old business that you guys had? I know that we've talked about quite a bit. Anything the board wants to bring up? Anything that we've discussed in the past? Good. All right. New business. We've really discussed all the new business that we have. Was there anything else that?
I want to congratulate Courtney on her new position at Phillips Exeter Academy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
What is it? I didn't hear.
So I'm the new associate dean of advising.
Oh.
So my job to support, to get our teachers and staff members to be better, stronger advisors and, working with communication with parents. So that'll be my new gig in the fall.
That's great.
That's why I was late. We had a forum for new students and parents, so they wanted to introduce the new deans.
That's great. Congratulations. That's awesome. Now, what is it looking like for you guys as far as school coming back in session in the fall?
Well, this week they canceled the fall study abroad trips. They said it just wouldn't work. So it was like Japan and a couple other countries. They said no to that. They canceled Exeter summer for the residential. They're trying to see if they can do it online. They canceled all the summer teacher institutes. So right now, they still don't know. I don't think it's going to happen just because it's impossible to keep the students separate from each other. I don't know how they would manage it. So right now they're just doing surveys and basically seeing what was everybody's experience this term. So I think the big thing is we'll probably still be doing distance learning. The big thing is whether they'll return to grading because we've had pass, no pass this term.
Okay.
That's our big issue. But there's just so many concerns about keeping even the dorms. Like, how do you house the kids? So they're talking about like renting the inn for the year and like using, because that's what this place can do.
How do you get in that?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
All of the students, because lots of kids have roommates here. So it's a lot of the same issues that you brought up with the summer program for the kids.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Yeah, and
so grateful for all of you.
Visitors, and like, could you allow them to have pizza delivered? Would we allow them to go down to Walgreens, or could they no longer kind of walk down to Walgreens just because they'd have to come back, and be together? So it's just a lot of what ifs.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you guys all doing everything that you're doing from where you're doing it. And we know it's some really hard decisions that are being made.
I have one thing, as usual.
Yes, Mike?
Is there a messaging mechanism to, as we refund all our monies for camp, to put that option out there if anybody can help support some of our sports sponsors, to give a percentage of their refund or all of their refund or $10 of their refund to our sponsors?
Please do that. That actually happened with a couple of races that I was going to do, like that, was it Wasson Pond Pounder? Like, they canceled it, but in the options, you could transfer to another year, or you could donate your registration fee. And they made it so easy. You just said yes, like, take it, however we said it. And it was really.
Do you remember the wording that they used, Courtney? Because that would be really great. Because I just had to pull Alexa because of her fractured ankle from softball, and they said, "Well, we'll refund you." And I said, "Keep it, put it towards softball and whatever you guys need." If you get the wording, maybe if there's a way we can do that,
or if there's a way the chamber would help us out with that somehow. Just throwing it out there. I don't want to put more work on Greg's plate. But there are people in this town with the means that they don't need the refund, and they may be willing to do that.
Well, we've processed every refund back to the credit cards, so it may take a couple days. That's what the follow-up email this afternoon was, for it to hit. Because that's one thing, our credit card processing company is taking it very slowly because it's a massive amount of money that is going back to them. And they want to make sure it's not fraud.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I know there was a concern raised by somebody today about what about those credit cards that either may have been a stolen credit card that they had to cancel or something that expired from the time that they paid to now. How is that going to be processed? Because those people won't get their refunds back if they paid on an expired credit card now.
That credit card, even though it's expired, and they can see that the account is still open, and it will be processed back to them.
Okay, so how did they get the money back on that though? Like, so the credit card.
Did they close the account altogether, or they just got a new card?
One of them did because it was a stolen credit card.
Well, they probably got a new card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They still have an account. So even their account with the company is active. And so they'll know how to transfer that money to the proper account.
I hope so. Okay. All right.
Because we've gotten those emails. We got one person that actually paid by a prepaid debit card. So she loaded it. We were able to stop that transaction and refund her via check. So the checks take 2 to 3 weeks to process through our finance department. So out of 293 refunds we issued, 41 checks are going to be issued. The rest of them have gone back on the credit card. And we had told the select board we were going to do all checks, but then our finance department looked into it. And we indeed do not pay credit card transaction fees for refunds. So there was no money lost there or accumulated. So it made more sense. But it's been a tedious, and Nancy, our office manager, has done an outstanding job. She finished processing everyone on Friday. So please, with the holidays, hopefully by midweek, everyone has it back in their account. If not, they should contact us.
My other question for you, Greg, too, is do you know if Nancy was able to generate an email to people, like a universal email as it was refunded, that people were notified that it was refunded and it would take a certain period of time to, I think that's important. That's part of our over communication we're talking about. I think it's important that people know and have peace of mind that they've been refunded.
That was the email I sent this afternoon, Steph.
Okay. All right.
So it basically said your credit cards have been refunded. Please allow 2 to 3 weeks for checks to come in the mail.
Okay, perfect.
All right. How much was camp again? $705?
$705. Yeah.
It's already in there. For mine, it is.
What about for swim? Was that automatically doing checks, or was that automatically going on credit cards?
Same thing, depending on what you paid for. So it should go back right there. So she's done all of this. I believe she's done all the swim as well.
Is that being reimbursed separately, Greg? Do you know 2 transactions or?
I believe it has to be, Steph. I think he just froze, but yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, just wanted to make sure people know that. All right. Any other questions, guys? I know it's a long meeting. There's a lot to go over, and I'm sure the next few meetings will be long as well to try and pull this stuff together. It's a different time right now. Anything else? I will definitely entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I've got 2 motions to adjourn. A second? Val seconded. Thank you guys so much. Next meeting is the last Tuesday of the month. Second Tuesday? Last Tuesday of the month. I don't know what that date is. I'll have to send out a message to you guys. Thank you so much. If you're not getting the emails, let us know. And be safe, guys. We really appreciate everything you're doing.
Good night.
Thank you.